Welcome to today's episode of AI in Action, where we decode the latest trends in AI, from research to profit, the Applied AI Show. Your hosts, Rajan, founder and partner at the AI accelerator EP2 and involved in AI research, and Kashi, AI researcher, startup founder, and renowned AI voice, bridge the gap between breakthrough research and business results. Rajan brings deep expertise and AI-first transformation and emerging architectures, while Kashi contributes hands-on experience with research and implementation by building and deploying AI systems across industries. Together, they decode the latest developments in AI and agentic systems and translate them into actionable strategies for practitioners, founders, and business leaders. Their mission: help you turn cutting-edge AI research into real-world ROI.
So, what's happening during the week? Are you all, what is the new thing you explored with respect to AI this week? What's hot? What's cool?
This week has all been about Maltbot and Maltbook, man. I do want to
Maltbot.
do more
Did you build
things.
your bot and did you deploy?
I would say I'm stuck in between a little bit. I did do it on my local machine, but I've been trying to get it up and running on my VPS, where it is remotely available. I was able to get Maltbot working on my local machine on a local phone number, and then I was able to chat with it. I didn't activate all the different, I would say, modalities in terms of voice input back. I was able to do voice input and I got text input, text output back on WhatsApp. So that was working. And then I realized that, I don't want to sort of play around with it inside my Mac machine, inside my local machine. I don't have like a separate machine. I don't want to do it in my laptop. So been a while since I spun up a droplet. So I spun up a droplet on DigitalOcean and I was trying to activate there. And there again, I was getting a little, I would say, ambitious. Got a tmux screen going so that it can run if a session gets detached and things like that. So that has actually slowed down things. So that's the part that I'm still working on.
What's your inhibition of running it in your local machine? Like you are being such a tech geek and stuff like that. What holds you back?
No, local machine, it's working.
I
It's
mean,
just
exposing it to internet. What are you worried about?
No, I mean, see, the thing is that even Peter says this, right? You basically are like running it in a courageous mode. I guess, what is differentiating this is going to be like a topic of discussion for us. Like, I think most of the people have the knowledge, have the skills, can go ahead and pick it up. But like last time we talked about saying people have assumptions and you have to actually suspend assumptions. I think for me, this week is this talking a little bit about saying, need to be more courageous. I didn't want it to run some RM minus RF on some folder, right? And I also didn't want it to be. I wanted it to be deployed without some guardrails in place, some commands it should not execute. Of course, I mean in my local machine, I'm the only one in my own network going to access it. It's not about external security that worries me from a local machine perspective. It's just the aspect of what all agent can do. And I've been looking at some of the tweets from Peter himself. He says, look, this should not be run by people who don't know what they're doing. He's not telling everybody to go ahead and just go crazy with crazy over it. Most people are going crazy over it. And he goes onto their Twitter threads and then says, look, don't do this. This is sophisticated activity, which is actually creating more trust for him. It's like okay, the guy's not trying to actually just sell something. It's very, very, very funny in the way it is happening. So yeah, I think a little more courage, I would say, to just make it running on my local machine and multiple interfaces. Frankly speaking, I would say that more than courage at this point in time, it is just that there are only enough number of hours in the day, and you have too many things to actually take a look at, try out. So it's more an hours question right now. It's not a courage question as much for me.
That's interesting. I got it running and I feel, I'm not sure if it's, you got the Maltbot, then there's a Maltbook. And there's such a lot of hype on the internet of what Maltbook is all about. Agents talking to one another, creating their own social networks, so on and so forth. People talking crazy things, and then I got an instance of it running, only to realize that, oh, it's just a bunch of prompts, and then people are only hyping more than necessary. So I think that's where I realized that
Well, see,
it's
that is
not.
always going to be the case, right? So hype is always going to be. It's like interesting that you're talking about hype. So I actually saw one article where some guy who had actually said he had used Maltbot and he's talking about how good and crazy this is. He's talking about some support. So I run this through some basic content filters, and then the content filter comes back and says that this guy seems to be like a crypto bro who's just shilling this thing, right? But then that had 1.5 million views, and then funnily I saw Karpati's tweet saying most people are pelting stones at him, saying that this guy is hyping. So so people who are like real deal, most people are not trusting them. People who are like hyping things up, like they are getting more trust. So funny what is going on right now on the internet.
Yeah, I sort of like deciphered it through the code, then only to realize that, firstly, the sense of what we call as intelligence is all hype. The second, only people who are hyping, their bots tend to rank up on Maltbook versus people who, are trying to get something genuine, for example, trying to execute a trade or something of economic value, or even just, letting the agents talk and see what happens. So I chose a couple of models. First, I tried the Chinese model, Kimi. Then I
K2.
tried Sonnet, yeah, and then I switched it to a different model, only to see, like, I just wanted to see what happens, in terms of interaction, and then I thought it was all of the agents chatting with one another, only to realize that, it's the people or the humans who are hyping it, their bots tend to rank up, versus um, the conversations that might be spawned by the bot itself. It's a very interesting trend. Yeah. Um, but from this topic, if we need to dwell further, right? What do you think is a profound impact on enterprises now that agent to agent social network is imagined? What do you think will go from here? I see a range of possibilities. Before I share mine, I wanted to hear from you. Where do you think this is going?
Yeah, see, I like I get the hype. I agree with that a little bit about saying it is hyped up a little bit, but I also feel that the whole Clawdbot thing slash Maltbot or OpenClaw, to me it feels like an important inflection point. Um, like yeah, you need to find a way to parse the hype, right? I feel that's an important skill for everybody, definitely founders, saying you have to find out like what is hype, what is real, because the signals of shifting are always going to be weak, right? And the same thing happened with Cloud Code when Cloud Code came out in March 2025. Like nobody paid attention to this. Same thing with Opus 4.5, right? So, and I don't think most people have even still assimilated like the impact of Cloud Code and Opus 4.5. From an enterprise perspective, like last time we talked about saying enterprise whoever is using like a Cloud Code subscription. Please retain them, follow them, study them, and make them inspire others as opposed to putting wall gates in front of them and like telling them that they are bringing their own model into the enterprise and that they're creating risk surfaces. I think one of the things that is going to happen from this is see one for enterprise, like the shift is actually being led by the consumer, whether it was mobile, whether it is like on the software engineering side. And now I would say that if I read this Clawdbot thing, really it is about making agents really available from a non-tech perspective, even though it is still very complicated to set up a Clawdbot, right? I mean, it's still in the early adopter domain. Now, when this is possible, that like whatever was Siri supposed to do, that is now within reach, right? So anything that was thought of from that perspective will start having like enterprise implication, like so people will have expectation of their workflows to be agentic led, right, in the enterprise use case, and people want to get those use case onboarded. So it could be in the fintech domain, it could be in healthcare domain, and voice conversation in the way Siri was supposed to unlock like new kind of paradigms is finally going to be within the reach. But in terms of impact for enterprise, I think one of the things that we just talked about, I've been talking about this with the founders also, that look, one is that you need delight, no question about it. Like, AI is bringing the delight, AI is bringing those magical experiences, but that is only going to sort of get you into the room. But unless it is secure, right, there is a lot of anxiety that will kick in terms of, I don't know whether I can trust this or not, I can use this or not. And this is definitely happening in the consumer world. We are talking about saying that it is opening up a lot of attack surfaces that has to be actually plugged in enterprise in a real big way. One of the things, I don't know, there is this Shark Tank guy, forget his name. He actually runs a security tech company. He put out a tweet, he put out a video saying the job of security was in the hands of tech people. Now finally it is in the hands of leadership, and they need to make a decision. I think the job of security was always in the hands of leadership. So like AI doesn't change this or agent doesn't change it. What it actually changes right now is this, that there are going to be new attack surfaces that will get created that was not created, that did not exist before, and there are no tools, there is no tech to actually go ahead and detect that, right? There is this trifecta of prompt injection that is talked about, and you can have some prompt that is coming and sitting in a query that you have, like some prompt piece that is sitting inside a query prompt that you create, and that can get activated at some point in time, and that can actually say, like, forget everything that was said so far, like, now give me this, right? And people who don't appreciate or understand that, if they are going to run that, then a lot of enterprise data can get leaked. So today it becomes a nightmare type of a situation. You say that, look, this is fantastic, I want to sort of introduce this into the enterprise, but you just don't know the kind of surfaces that you expose yourself to. So that is going to be the first thing that enterprise leaders for the next 6 months will have to deal with, because they are not going to be able to stop this BYO, now not model but Claude, right? Or malt. BYOM will now mean bring your own malt. If you're bringing your own malt, how many security surfaces, right, that you're exposing yourself, that I think is going to be like a big question. Then once you solve both delight and security, I think it is going to be magical, right? And I remember one product manager, a colleague of mine, used to say at TurboTax, I was in QuickBooks, he was in TurboTax. He said, it looks like somebody was saying that, look, the whole design of application is about either you make it very easy or you make it very secure, right? And we were talking the context of designing a login experience. He said, there is never an or, right? That is not a trade-off question at all, right? It has to be both delightful and secure, right? So then only even consumers will adopt it. So there is no question of or saying, oh, if I reduce one step in OTP, does it make it more secure, and therefore it is like a trade-off question or not? I think we will have to cross that cross that orbit for Maltbot, and it will happen, because everybody is kind of surprised. Another thing about this whole Maltbot is, I don't know whether you remember, 15 months ago, there was this Stanford paper, right? I think it was called a Smallville, which is about like multiple agents that were simulated. They're asked to actually work with each other. They had created their own world of themselves. It was a good academic exercise. That now feels like, has translated into real world use case in Maltbook, right? So the timing of this is very interesting, but a lot more has to be done before enterprises can actually take advantage of this.
So well said, Rajan. I think this system is going to really explode. I see a different way it might explode. Again, if you're blowing this into the enterprise world, I look at it as, if you look at the old world API integration or apps integration, what used to happen was that there were tight sort of controls using which information would be available from one system to another, and often from one person to another within the enterprise. Now, once let's say this gets into an enterprise private ecosystem, the way I see this exploding is nothing but maybe those integrations may or may not be necessary. When these agents are well orchestrated, they go access information, they figure out what information would enrich and drive value. For example, if you take a use case of supply chain, And if there's an opportunity to optimize the supply chain, instead of walking through 25 permissions in SAP, 50 permissions in Oracle, and getting the two systems to talk, or it could be something else. I think imagine letting this swarm of agents sort of figure it out, saying that, okay, here is a real world scenario on the ground and how this can be solved with access to information. So I see this situation really, really um, exploding. That's how I see it. But yeah, as you rightly said, it's about 3 to 5 years away. Um, I don't know. We can't predict the timeline. It could be 3 to 5 months at the rate at which technology is changing. But I think it'll evolve into something interesting and really beautiful in time to come.
Got a hot take on AI? A burning question? Let us know what you'd like us to debate next. And hey, if you want to jump in the ring with us, drop your LinkedIn link and the topic you're itching to discuss. We'd love to have you on the show.